the tutorial. And once again, I have this new tutorial, and the topic of this tutorial is pretty much I'm gonna code. Okay, I'm gonna give you some examples, writing some code. And what we are gonna do in this tutorial is we are gonna pretty much create a application. It's called logging application. It's a sample application that I am going to demonstrate you, which will pretty much provide you all uh, the concepts clear that we have studied in our previous lectures, right? What we studied in our previous lectures were pretty much understanding the launch mode and registering your activity for the results. So we will be implementing a very simple logging activity, which will be like kind of a login form with the username and password, edit text views, and a login button. So we click on the button with and there is a click listener, which will pretty much interact with your pretty much listening to your click actions. And then you validate the forms that you have filled in, and then you submit the username and password, and then finally you display a welcome message to the user saying that the form was successfully submitted. And then if there is an error during your form filling, then you'll have to show the error message. It's a very simple application, so you can solve this simple application using three different possibilities, right? You can solve it in three different ways. So one is using a single top activity, the another is using the utilizing the standard approach, that is also the standard activity. And finally you can also use the register for activity for result. Okay, so in this tutorial I will be showing you how to use a single top activity solution. Okay, so let's not waste the time, and let's go right to the concept. Let's know right to coding. And okay, so to tell you some extra information, though, this is will be your logging form. Like, this is the layout, XML layout that I have created. Okay, let me close this emulator for the moment. Okay, so this is our XML layout. Okay, and okay, so this is our XML layout, and this is so yeah, just be careful that your input type is a text password here, because it's a password, right? And then for the strings I have utilized this one for the login, and for the theme I have been using this alt four different kind of themes for header, edit text, login, button, and page. Okay, so and the first concept that you have to do is, if you recall the concept that I taught you in my previous lecture videos. If you want to know more, just follow my previous lecture videos. But if you want to use a single top launch mode, then you have to declare the launch mode in your manifest file for the particular activity that you are trying to launch, right? So it is a launcher activity, so I'm using also the intent filters. So if you want to learn no more about this, just follow my previous lecture videos, where I have theoretically explained the motivation, right, behind using it. And now, so let's follow the let's write coding. So we click on the button, submit button. Then the first thing what we have to do is we have to we submit the button, and we have to get the username and password, right? Use name form, and username text to string. You trim this out. Then you have the password from the password. And then you have to, after you get the information from the edit text, you just pretty on hide the keyboard, because you don't need anything. You don't need to show the keyboard, right? And first, now we have to do the form validations. Okay, first let me just, okay, yeah, so solve this thing. So I'm gonna do the form validation. Either your form is okay, otherwise, like, you have to show the toast message saying that the form that you have filled is not okay, so you will show the error. So so our username form is not empty, and password form is not empty, and submit button is not visible, right? Is visible. So if it is submit button is visible, then the form is valid. That means uh, okay, so you can proceed. Okay, otherwise you have to show the toast message saying that the form that you have entered is not valid. um, String. So you show the error with the length uh, long, and then you apply a gravity of center center. Okay, then you have to show the error. Okay, as you know that for utilizing the for using this solution of a single top, we have to also override this on new intent, and you already know how to use the hide keyboard, right? Okay, so now let's move further. So what we have to do is pretty much when you what you have to do is when you click the submit button, you submit all your hard-coded username and password, and then if it is okay, then you have to log in, right? I mean, like, you have to show a display message that that everything is okay. So so how can we do that? We can pretty much use that by we can do that by using intent, right? So how can we do that? Okay, let's do that. So we set the name of the activity. So we set the launching activity. So what we do is pretty much we launch an activity, right, when everything is okay. And what we launch the same single top activity. Okay, and then we also what we do intent is like, let me put it, login intent. Okay, what we do is we add the data to the intent, that means we put the extras. Let's see, put extras to be passed by the intent. As you know that intent is a messaging object, right? So login intent, we put the extras, we give the extras actually to. So so now we also need some constants. So I want to constants. Okay, let me create some app constants, like let's create, it's called a username key and password key. Okay, this is a password key and username key. So now we have to put the extras to username, constants username key. So we provide the values, right, to username. We pass the username and password key. We provide the password from the form. Then finally we have to launch the activity by using start activity and pass the intent, that is a login intent, right? So simply we launch this activity, and what it does, if you are using a single top, because we are using a single top, right? So what it does, it pretty much if it is opening the same activity and you are trying to open it again, the same activity is trying we are trying to you opening it, what it does, it's gonna override this, goes to the on new intent, right? So now we go to the on new intent callback. So what it does is like we set the new intent to the we set the new intent, right? So we set the new intent to the current intent. So it's like pretty much let's say it's a new intent, right? And intent, so the current intent of the process is set, like new intent is set to the current intent in the process. Okay, intent to current intent in the process, and then what we have to do is pretty much use this intent to update the view pretty muchly. So what we do is we intent, pretty much I create the values here. So user name, okay, login intent get string extras, and username key. Okay, so we get the values from the extras, right? And pass form and login intent get string extra app constants password. Okay, and yes, we are pretty much okay with this concept. And okay, so this is pretty tricky. I will be explaining you what's the trick behind is like so logged in, there must be a situation like if we have logged in correctly, so has entered, so we have to pretty much create a variable which is which will check that we have entered our credentials correctly, right? So let's create the entered correctly the credentials, right? So so it's like pretty much a boolean, and what it does, it returns the user, so actually we have to pass in the values, right? So user name form and password from the form, and so these are both the strings, and we just have to check the if the user name sorry, username form intent equals like the we have to pretty much check, we just also create another like constant here saying correct username name value is okay, like password password value will be okay. Uh, Let me see. Word 1 2 3. Okay. Uh, okay. So we create some supplementary methods like as to control if you have entered the credentials correctly. So yeah, passing, now we have to check if the correct constants, correct username value, and similarly the pass form tense equals correct constant correct password value, right? So if this is okay, then it's gonna return true. So and enter correct credentials value, we have to just pass username from the form and password from the form, right? Okay, so this logged in correctly pretty much checks out that if we have entered the credentials correctly, right? And then once we have get the values, if we have entered the credentials correctly, then we have to update the view, right? Update logged view, and else we have to show the error. So how to show the error is like, we obviously you can pretty much copy and paste the same error, but you just can change the login, like the text, right? And so we have to also update the create a function which updates the logged in view. Okay, so when we update the view, so we have to pass also the username. So let's pass the username, and let's update the the view, and also say that if the logged in, your logged in is, so you are logged in, right? So let's update the view. So how do you update the view? So when you update the view, you pretty much so your logged in user is is now the user that is logged in, right? The name is like user logged in. So now we have also a welcome message, which is pretty much you get the string and login text. Then you have to pass the logged in user. As you see, the welcome logged in test has this string, so we have to pretty much pass in the username here, right? And finally so you have to set the username to invisible, to password view to be invisible, and also submit button to be invisible. That means visible is false, and you set the header text to the welcome message text, right? So yeah, this is it, guys. This is the final solution. So we run the application and check if everything is okay. So we have pretty much launched our application. I don't see anything. Why it's okay? Yeah, it's because uh, single button, uh, submit button. Okay, there might be some issue here. So um, okay, so submit button. uh, okay, let me check what's the issue here. So might be the case like we have multiple submit buttons here. Okay, so what is the username? This is the username. It's the submit button. Let me rename this. uh, okay, and okay, let me launch it again, because I have been using multiple submit buttons with the same that's why it's creating some problems here. Okay, again I have some kind of a error here. So login sound must not be null. uh, okay, yes, I know the problem, guys. The main problem is because of the yeah, this was our set content view was to pointing to different activity. Okay, so guys, yeah, thanks for some little sorry for the confusion. And yeah, please enter your username and password below. So we have to use the username as Niran and password was PASS word 1 2 and 3, right? So actually it's wrong, so let me check it again. PASSWORD 1 2 3. Yes, you are now logged in, and we hope you enjoy your application. Yeah, so this is it, guys. So this was the solution here. And the critical part was we are utilizing the same single top activity. So you are using the same activity, launching it again, using this mechanism of single top, launch mode, single top. And then we are pretty much using the intent to update the intent with the new intent, and updating the view. And this is it. It's pretty minimalistic approach, guys, because we are reusing the same activity, right? And this is one of the solutions. So we will be going also through some standard solution in my next lecture, and checking out what's the difference. And also I will be using another, as I told, I promised you before, I will be using 3 different solutions. So single top, I just finished it right now in this chapter, in this tutorial. So I will be using standard activity solution in the next tutorial, and I will be also using another one, register for activities, in the next tutorial. So I will be doing 3 solutions for this activity, and checking out which one. So you guys just check out and decide what's the best. Okay, so thank you very much, guys.